This is Sybert signing into Red Alert 3, and we are kicking it back on the map Fire Island, which is always fun to see, except when it's not. In the north, as the Cyan Empire player, this is Zugspitze. And in the south, as the Blue Allies, this is Dantalian. Dantalian, not a player I'm familiar with. The name is unfamiliar. Possibly a Chinese player, as Zugspitze is Chinese. So, despite the name of a German mountain, this could both be Chinese players. And in the last video, someone was asking about where exactly players from China do congregate, and apparently it's a service. I'm going to mispronounce this. It's spelled, as I would say in an American accent, Haofang. I'm sure that's wrong, but whatever. Apparently they have a separate service. I'm not sure if it's a LAN emulation client or if it does, like CNC Online, kind of replicate the multiplayer functionality. Either way, they do have a service, and you can find out about it. By the way, Zugspitze does have a YouTube account. It used to just be over on Bilibili, but you can check out Zugspitze VODs. You can check out Demon VODs. I think Andre maybe streams on Twitch, but, you know, Andre probably also posts stuff on YouTube, so if there are places, or if you are wanting to learn Red Alert 3 or see the FPV of some of the top-level players, there are places to go, and some of it, you don't even have to use, you leave YouTube. You don't even have to use YouTube, and as someone who posts exclusively on YouTube, but you can, of course, watch people's Twitch streams. But some of that stuff, like Demon's channel, it's right here on YouTube, so he often posts like an all maps challenge versus whoever, and that's great. You get to see how Demon plays out a game on 7 different maps, and so you can get some good tips from a player like him, but also from Zugspitze. All right, Dantalian going to be stepping forward with a bunch of peacekeepers. He was able to deny the second oil derrick capture in the north, got himself out an oil derrick, and he's doing the thing someone else was doing this, where they wall the javelin trooper in, but outside of the refinery. I forget who that was that I just saw do that. I don't know. Well, at this point, it was probably 2 or 3 months ago. But I don't know who that was, but that's okay. So now someone else is doing it, which is great, because I mean, if the Tengus land in there, the Tengu is kind of useless, and if not, the Tengu can't easily attack that javelin trooper. So it's a great little move there. 3 Apollos going to be showing up for Dantalian, going to be able to jump on these Tengus, and the Tengus trying to close the distance, but Zugspitze doesn't close the distance properly, and now the 2 Apollos go down, but 3 of those Tengus get eliminated. And that was actually a pretty good exchange, all things considered, for Zugspitze. Considering that an Apollo beats a Tengu 1-to-1, the fact that Zugspitze got anywhere near a 1-to-1 ratio with those Apollos is quite good. So, good jumping by Zugspitze, and that was just barely on his side of favorable, that engagement. The Apollos all healed up, 2 of them rebuilt, and they're going to go out searching for more Tengus to hunt. But this time the Tengus have the repairs in, actually going to be engaging right near the Mecha Tengu, or the Mecha Bay, but not on top of the Mecha Bay. Nice control for one of the Apollos. The second Apollo is going to be able to escape, and great moves, way aggressive moves. This is, again, I don't know who Donatello is. Dantalian is, but if they are a Chinese player, then this is definitely a difference in the meta between NA, EU, the rest of the world, and China in this particular case, because I don't remember seeing any of the other allied players be that aggressive on trying to jump on cleaning up those Tengu numbers. But in this particular case, this allied player is doing just that. We did see our Tier 2, we did see our first Chopper VX stepping on out for Zugspitze. And first couple of peacekeepers going to be trying to make their way in. Both players pretty late on the 3rd refineries, but of course that's partially because of the double airfield coming out from Dantalian, and because of the Mecha Bay going up to Tier 2 for Zugspitze. Scouting peacekeeper, I guess you could have used the non-double vet one if you're going to find something to complain about. Yeah, you got 4 non-veteran peacekeepers. You might as well keep the veteran one and do your scouting with the other ones, which are slightly more expendable, but certainly not a big deal. Crow shot? Are we about to see a crow shot? No, I guess not. He was just circling over there looking for an opportunity, but Dantalian going to be able to take his third refinery, and that is one thing that these Apollo attacks have done for him, is create that bit of space. It's something that we talk about a decent amount, but so much about all RTS games is about trying to create those little moments of opportunities for you. If you're over on the opponent's side of the map, putting on some aggression, attacking a little bit, then they probably don't have units on your side of the map, and so you can go ahead and safely take that expansion. And we see that in pretty much every single RTS game play out in different ways, but this is one way that it played out here in Red Alert 3. All right, Apollos are going to try and engage, but this is very favorable for the Tengus. This is 4 Apollos, 5 Apollos almost, as a 5th one shows up a little bit late to the party, but the Tengus, of course, with the point defense drones, but also with the Chopper VXs on the ground, are going to be able to stay safe in this moment. But now, of course, we have the moment where you go, well, how many do I transform? Where do I transform? In this case, it's going to be a Prospector Harassment over there. Cryo Shot goes off. There's going to be the Striker transforming into the sky, trying to deal with that multi-gunner turret, but it's only 1 Striker, and now the Apollos are going to swing back through. This is 5 Apollos, 1 of them deathly low, 2 of them deathly low on health, but 1 Tengu gets eliminated. The Vindicator goes in for the bombing run, but doesn't really do much as more and more Apollos getting cleaned up, and Dantalian is going to have a bit of a difficulty pushing away the Empire units when they are this close to his airfields. Tier 2 finally up and running for our allied player, but it is to not much avail as he is going to have to immediately unpack his MCV. Nice transforms on those units by Zugspitze, just right in the timing department, and now he's going to be able to back off. This has been a pretty costly attack. He has disrupted Dantalian a bit and gets a Vindicator for it as well, so cleaning up that Vindicator on the way out, as well as killing 1, maybe 2 Harvesters. No, this guy didn't actually die. He just took a bunch of damage. Dantalian going to find a Tengu, and yes, he will gun this guy down. Goodbye. Nope, he gets the transform just in time. He didn't transform earlier than that, so maybe the timer hadn't quite elapsed, but that was just barely saved there by Zugspitze. Almost engages with an extremely weak Tengu there. But again, nice attack by Zugspitze. Does it win him the game? Certainly not. It buys him space to get that 3rd refinery up and running, and maybe, I guess he didn't actually get any tech, but I was going to say maybe even get out some tech, but he's not at Tier 3 just yet. He didn't actually get a naval yard either, so he's not really diversifying. And once again, on this map, almost every single allied player everywhere in the world builds 1 power plant out there on the water. A Yari mini-sub is a great tool to go and harass that power plant, force them to rebuild it, force them to disrupt their multi-gunner turret lines. If you pair that Yari mini-sub killing that water power plant with an attack, you can really disrupt an allied player, depending on how greedy they've been. Couple of Peacekeepers spread around the map. I love this, a little bit of extra scouting by Dantalian. Going to be finding those little moments to try and send out individual units, get some scouting off, get some map presence, where a lot of other players just rely on their aircraft to be that map presence and map awareness for them. They don't send out the individual Peacekeepers, and they lose out on some of that just static vision around the map. Tengu does get cleaned up, but this one over here has been a bit more successful and is even going to try and escape. Strikers are going to go in. They do not manage to get that assault destroyer, just barely, and actually Zugspitze overestimating himself and ultimately overstaying his welcome does lose at least 2 of those strikers, loses a harvester up here in the north, one of those individual scouting harvester, or individual scouting Peacekeepers managing to get a kill on a harvester, getting some good damage off on that ore refinery as well, and Zugspitze going to be taking a 4th refinery. As you can see, he was trying to attack and expand at the same time, but his attack went rather poorly, and so the result is he really just expanded at that moment. But he was able to take a 4th refinery relatively comfortably, dropped a dojo here on the south side of the ridge, and kind of curious, that's not something you see very often, but he also deliberately got the observation post. So it's not an MCV cell observation post capture, but it is just a regular observation post. Dolphins have avoided detection up to this point, so they are going to get pretty darn close to this refinery before they're finally dealt with. And they're going to get the harvester no matter what. The refinery may also be brought down. Zugspitze decides not to... He also decides not to sell it off. That's very curious. Late sell-off there for Zugspitze, but I can see why he wanted to get his units out of there if he chooses to get rid of it, but the sell-off was just a smidge late. All Tengus, all strikers. Let's see what they can do for our German-Chinese player. There's a big transform on the 4th refinery, so going to be shutting down the main base refinery and the 4th refinery, keeping the army in the main. May have been a bit of a mistake for Dantalian, but he is going to be able to defend this ore refinery, maybe keep it alive with the single chopper VR multi-gunner turret as the chopper VX is transformed, but the tank buster also showing up. 2 tank busters just randomly here in the south from that dojo on the other side of the ridge. Ultimately, I guess that was a really good choice for Zugspitze, giving him a couple of more options and a couple of more pieces of firepower to throw at this 4th refinery. Shutting down that 4th refinery ultimately turns out to be a really great move by Zugspitze. He pretty much got that kill about as cleanly as you could. Maybe overstaying his welcome a touch, but even the Apollo isn't going to be brave enough to stick around for, well, never mind. As the Apollo does stick around and gets cleaned up by Zugspitze. But the Apollo almost getting some damage off against those strikers, just not quite being able to make it stick. 2 assault destroyers, javelin troopers. This is going to be enough, but refinery could end up going down. Let's see how Zugspitze chooses to play this one out. Might just run for the hills, cut out on the water, and yep, back up on land over there. So splits his forces off, and that's about as good as you can ask for. If you don't want to stand and fight, you're not going to get the refinery with that kind of timing. So he's actually going to come back in and try and pick off a bit more of this refinery health. Going to be trying to escape away, but 1 tsunami tank will pay the price, and that is ultimately the game you got to be worried about when you're going up against allies. 1 multi-gunner turret does go down, but there are still 2 more right here on the front line, and the Tengus are here. The choppers have already worn through their point defense drones, so they're a little bit battered and bruised. They need to get off of the front line, and the javelin troopers, now under the protection of that assault destroyer, are going to have an easy time clearing this front line. The big, powerful, bad allied player is now ready to punch the other guy in the face. Cryocopter, not going to be able to save the harvester, but will be able to save the refinery, and this is as the tsunami tanks will be forced to trade their lives. It looks like 1 extra harvester getting constructed at some point there for Zugspitze, and he has to deal with a whole lot of armor coming his way very soon, with not a lot of tsunami tanks, possibly no tsunami tanks. So it looks like they all got cleaned up here in the south, and that refinery does still stand. So a gambit pulled off, or attempted by Zugspitze, but not really pulled off here. Tengu's going to be able to jump on the cryocopter, and that's a great kill for Zugspitze, but did he trade too much for it in this engagement? Let's see. He manages to jump on the Peacekeepers, and it's going to be the crush as that tsunami tank gets massive damage off against those javelin troopers, but still 4 or 5 javelin troopers remain, and that's enough to continue to break the front line of our Empire player. The Peacekeepers not going to be needed to defend as that Imperial Warrior falls before he ever gets in range, and once again almost pulling it off, but no, Zugspitze is not able to stop the onslaught, and of course, the Cryoblast now going to be firing off 2 power plants very close together, are vulnerable, but finally a 3rd tsunami tank going to be coming in, and there's 1 of the assault destroyers down. The 2nd one is within striking distance of this MCB and of these Tengus, so goodbye power plant, but we don't need them, as Zugspitze is going to push this back with some good old-fashioned delay tactics, and using that to get up an army that can actually push this back. He is battered and bruised. He's lost both of his expansion refineries. He's down to just those 2 refineries. No oil derrick against a 3 refinery allied player. But the allies has just lost their entire army, and that's a start of holding on for Zugspitze. But he is in a tough spot either way. Not quite up to tier 3 is Dantalian, so he has not gone all the way to aircraft carriers, which is good for Zugspitze. If you don't like watching allied players win, then that is good for you. In this case, going to be a big jump of all of these Tengus. The Apollos are going to not go down. All 3 of them do actually escape out of that situation, And yeah, Zugspitze needs to go ahead and get on out of there. He can't stick around against this much firepower from our allied player. He's still going on the offensive, so will he be able to... Yeah, he's once again attacking and expanding at the same time. You don't have to kill the other guy at this very moment. Although if you did some damage, that would be nice. He really needs to shut down that third refinery if he can. He's going to maybe sacrifice a tsunami tank to do it. And look at that, the Harvester pulled off the line a little bit early, just in case, just to make that this much more of a difficult situation. A Vindicator goes down. The Vindicator there to try and save that Harvester. And at this moment, Dantalian has said, I want to save the Harvester. I don't care about the lost mining time, but I want to save the Harvester from that tsunami tank. Imperial Warriors and Tank Busters possibly out of position there in kind of a weird spot. The Apollo's taking some damage, but too fast for those Tengus. The Tengus are going to go for the harassment, and there's the split. The attack over here has drawn the Assault Destroyer north, which means there's an opportunity for this refinery to finally be dealt with and for Zugspitze to finally even the score on the economic front. Now, can the transform of these choppers save them? The answer is yes, and beautiful execution here by Zugspitze of this attack. The only unfortunate thing is that Emperor's Rage is making it a little bit more difficult for him to escape. Giant Cryogeddon going to be coming in here. There's the sell-off of the War Factory and the refinery as well. But the Tsunami Tank, the Harvester, and that Imperial Warrior all go down, and that was going to be a Tier 3 War Factory that just got eliminated. What a critical blow for Dantalian to stay in this game after just losing one of his 3 refineries in this moment. Another Harvester did go down. For some reason, Zugspitze keeps ending up with extra Harvesters. And look at that, the multi-gunner turret auto-attacking. Dantalian is not manually controlling that, and so it just starts attacking the Tengus, which was the useless target in that particular moment. The Apollos do get pushed away. The Javelin Troopers are going to keep the Cryocopter safe for the current moment, and that Harvester did survive for just a couple of moments longer, but another refinery gets struck down, and this is buying so much time for the Mecha Bay to come back online, and the third refinery of Zugspitze to get re-established. Those main base refineries getting eliminated. So frustrating for Zugspitze, but he's going to be getting them back up and running. And the same thing for Dantalian. Because he's lost so much economy up at this point, you might as well not move your MCV. Just keep it here. Try and re-expand to the water. Otherwise, your production is going to be completely gone with no upgrades and with no tech upgrades on your airfield. You need cryocopters, you need something, because Dantalian has been defeated. The army just wasn't there, and he was done. That'll do it for this game. Zugspitze and Dantalian putting up a great show for us in this match on Fire Island. Big thanks to these guys for playing this game. What a great back and forth and a lovely execution of some different strategies on this map. And just like a really well-balanced fight between these two. And that'll do it for this game. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you all very much for watching. And this is Sybert, signing out.